Hello, welcome back. In today's video, we are gonna be having a look at C# properties and learn how, when and why to use them. So let's get started. We all know what fields are, right? A field is simply a variable of any type that is defined in a class or struct. Properties are fields, but on steroids. So let us now see how do we even declare a property. Here's an example. It has the basic things like the type, which is in this case int, and the name of the variable, which is example, and we have an extra third part which will contain our property accessors. What are property accessors, you may ask? Well, they are simply executable statements which help the property function. Let us look at the three types of property accessors, which are get, set, and init. So let's break down and learn about all three of them. Let's start with get. It is used to return the value of the property. Set, as the name suggests, is used to set the value of the property. Init is used to initialize the value of the property, which also makes it immutable, which means its value can't be changed after the object it is contained in is first created. But as init setter are not supported in Unity, we won't be covering much of its usage in this video. Now that we know the basics of what these accessors do, let us learn how to use them while declaring a property. Here is the basic syntax that is used while declaring a property. We obviously have the type, the name, and then we can use the accessors with their name and a pair of curly braces to represent accessor block. So let's try declaring a property with just the get accessor. Here we have declared a property of type int and have given it the name, example. And then inside the get accessor block, we are simply returning the value of the property. So as we currently only have get accessor, that makes this example a get or read-only property. Now let's try adding a set accessor. So we simply add set, and then inside the block we simply tell it to assign the value that is provided to the example. Now we have a set accessor, so that makes it a get set property, or just a property, as its value can now be both accessed and assigned. We can also add the init accessor to this example, but first we need to remove the set accessor cause the init property is also a set accessor. So let's remove set and add the init, and that is all that we need to change to use the init accessor. We are still simply assigning the given value to the example property, but as we already discussed, using init makes it immutable. As we can't use the init accessor in Unity, so we can go back to our getSet property. Currently, we don't have any other additional logic in our property accessors, which simply means that the get and set accessors do just what they are meant to do, which is returning and setting the value respectively. If we wanted, we could always add additional logic inside the curly braces. Let us for now say that we don't have anything additional, so we can directly use auto-implemented properties, which, as the name suggests, auto-implements the basic functionalities of the property accessors for us, while keeping our code concise. Now that we know how to use these property accessors, let us learn why and where we should be using these. Let us take an example. Let's say you have a string field called player ID in a class named InfoManager, and you want to access it from another class. Making it public is what most beginners would do, but having public fields is never a good thing. Using properties is a better way to control how outside code interacts with your objects. Thus, let us see how we can use properties to make it better. Let's start by changing it from a field to a property. And then let's add our get and set accessors. And let's make the property have the public access modifier, which makes the get have the public accessor, while the set only has a private access modifier. Thus now we have a publicly readable variable, but its value can only be set from within the class. And you can safely access it from the other class while still abiding encapsulation. And you can of course use any access modifier as per your needs. Just it needs be more restrictive than the property or indexer, which simply means that you can't have, say, a public get accessor on a private property or anything similar. And trying to do that would give you the compiler error CS0273. Alright, now that we know how properties work, we would also like to serialize them to make them show up in the Unity inspector. Let's take the example property that we previously made and tossing that in a mono behavior, and having a look at the inspector, we can see that nothing appear and the property is not serialized. Even if we try making it public or try using the serialized field attribute, we would see that it doesn't appear right away. That is because Unity won't serialize non-auto implemented properties. We can use a clean little trick of using it with a backing field. What is a backing field, you ask? Well, it is simply a field that is used alongside a property where a property is used as a smaller way of writing getter and setter methods for the field itself. So let's make a backing field for our current property. Let's call it _example, and then change out current property to use out new backing field instead of itself. And then we can simply serialize this backing field with the serialized field attribute, and that's all. Now if we go back into Unity, we would be able to see the field in the inspector. And let's say we have an auto-implemented property, then we can simply use the serialized field attribute along with the field, which is allowing us to target backing field of the current property, thus it shows up in the inspector. And that brings us to the end of this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Drop a like if you did. And consider subscribing. It really helps support the channel. Let me know in the comments what other principles and concepts you want me to cover next. And with that said, bye. And I will see you in the next one.